If I had to describe my 2023, I would say it was very spontaneous. I strayed from pretty much everything I planned at the start of the year. So, let's first go over the priority list of 2033 that I made in January and see how well I followed it. My first priority was exercising. Overall, I think I did a decent job at improving my exercise habits, but in the past few months from October to December, I pretty much did not exercise at all. So I'm going to give myself a C for this one. I did join a Japanese soccer team, which motivated me for a bit to get in better shape so I don't hold the team back. But once the season was over, I stopped exercising completely and opted to just watch anime or movies instead in my free time. Second priority was Japan. Honestly, I don't remember why I had Japan as a priority, but I'm giving myself an A for this one. Especially now that my parents moved to Japan, I plan on taking at least one trip to Japan every year. Unless my parents decide to move back to the US, which I think they're still debating. Not being able to visit them regularly is kind of sad, but maybe my mentality will change in the following years once I get more accustomed to living alone. The thing I miss the most is my mom's cooking. Especially with how expensive eating out is nowadays, I should really learn how to cook, but I just have so little interest in cooking for myself. Singing, and I guess I'll lump piano in here as well. I pretty much did not do anything to improve on this in 2023. I was thinking of taking voice lessons, but I simply got lazy, and also I'd have no place to practice since I live with a roommate. So I'm going to push that out until 2024. I do want to get better at singing at some point though. I did do one programming project with my friend Remy, but I couldn't find the motivation to complete it. I think it was a combination of factors like the project scope being pretty big, being too tired after work to think properly, and wanting to socialize rather than grinding code. Melee, Overwatch, chess, I put them lower priority on purpose because I wanted to discourage myself from unproductive activities, but I soon realized that it's important for me to make time for socializing because otherwise I feel so exhausted to do anything productive anyways. Maybe I'm an extroverted introvert, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not ashamed of the fact that I spent most of my time on these things because it's the main way I have fun. Soccer is something I just put on there, but it ended up being one of the best things I tried in 2023. I joined a Japanese soccer group that a few of my friends from Japanese Saturday school were in, and it was actually really fun, and I especially loved talking to people who recently moved from Japan and hearing about what their life in Japan was like, why they moved, among other things. Overall, I'd give myself a C for following this priority list, but there were some good things that came out of not following the list. For example, I learned that socializing is really important for my energy level, and it really affects my happiness level when I'm isolated for too long. So now to get into some 2023 highlights. So I started working on some backend code at my job. There's not much to expand on here. I started off with front end, and that was pretty much what I did for like 9 months, I want to say. But now I'm working on some backend, and it's nice that I'm at a workplace where I can contribute to like a lot of different parts of the company. Like the work is really fun, and I actually look forward to the features that I work on. The Japan trip in July was also very enjoyable. Since summers in Japan are like really extremely hot, people stayed in the living room with the AC, and it was kind of distracting to work with my nieces playing and usually getting into fights in the background. But I found it enjoyable regardless. And not to get all philosophical, but it reminded me to cherish the day-to-day of life, something that I forget sometimes when living in the US. In a similar way, I spent a lot of time hanging out with friends in 2023. And sometimes I even step out of my comfort zone, which I kind of regret sometimes because usually I'm too scared to strike up conversations with people I don't know. But I think it's good to keep putting myself in situations so I can eventually get better at it. So my coworker who is really good at socializing, he always goes to like a lot of hangouts where he might only know like one or two people there. So I'm trying to learn from him. I also started going to this local cafe for lunch when I work remotely at the library, and I sometimes sit at the bar. And one time I actually managed to strike up a conversation with someone who was reading a book, and it was enjoyable. So yeah, I'm practicing how to be more social in general. It's much easier to speak to a screen, I feel like, than actually trying to be ad hoc in conversations, that kind of thing. There were quite a lot of other events in 2023, like my parents selling the house and moving to Japan, but for the sake of time, I feel like I should just leave it out of the video. Maybe in 2024, I'll create a diary section on my website so I can keep track of life events. So I do want to eventually come back to these videos or records for when I'm older and I can take a look at what I was doing back then, you know. I'll create a 2024 to-do list sometimes next year. I still haven't thought about what exactly I want to accomplish in 2024. But yeah, see you then and happy holidays.